What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast that is a proud partner of the Euroset Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. As always, I am your host, Numac, coming to you with another Packers preview episode as the Packers prepare to take on the Carolina Panthers at Lambeau Field this Sunday. And for, I'm pretty sure, the first time this year, a noon o'clock game, Jordan. And that is to be celebrated. I'm No, they played the Browns at noon. Yep. Regardless, for the second time this season, we get a noon o'clock game, which is very, very enjoyable for me. Um, and to talk about this preview game, and among other things, is my lovely co-host George Esky. Jordan, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Excited to see the Panthers to keep
Why?
pounding.
Why would you be excited to see the Panthers? No disrespect to our lovely co-host Andrew Snyder, who's unfortunately couldn't make it for this pod, but
I like. I'm going to say this.
you like pounding?
You were like, your face was already just like so like a little kid, like knowing that he said something wrong
Yeah.
the moment it left your mouth. No, I want to say this. I think the Panthers have an top 10 uniform aesthetic in the NFL.
That's ballsy, frankly. Because I think they're pretty mid. Like the definition of just like
I like it.
average. You're big. What do you prefer, the like metallic blues that they have, or are you a fan of the base blacks that they use?
I like the black alternate.
The black alternate is nice, but like their default jerseys, I am lukewarm on.
I should top 10 might be strong. I
I
like top 10 strong.
That's what I'm saying.
But I like it. Also, I like it. I don't know why. I don't know why I have gone down this road to start episode of
Yep.
Talk of the Tundra. But for some reason, Packer Panthers games are always kind of like elevated. And maybe that's because when the Packers won the Super Bowl in '96, they played the Panthers in the conference championship.
Yep.
Beat
all
them,
all of us on this
brick side
pod
them.
definitely remember that game. me,
Ugh,
me and Jordan are gonna come to blows on this podcast. I've been I've
Jesus.
been singing the Thriller in his ear for the past 15 minutes before this podcast. He's about had it with me.
It's about Andy Dalton turning into a werewolf. But there's always the Panthers have kind of been in the. I remember growing up, the Panthers were always in the Packers, a thorn on the Packers side. Like Brad Hoover. Does anybody remember Brad Hoover? Does anybody remember Brad
I
Hoover?
don't think anyone.
This
Maybe
well, I will
maybe Andrew.
pepper. I'll. He should. He should. I will pepper in some Brad Hoover talk throughout the podcast, and you'd be like, "Who the
Sound
hell is this dude?"
Sounds like he sucks.
Good.
This
Lord.
might be the last episode of Talking of the Tundra.
It's not. It won't be. But it's just like, what are we doing? No, I am weirdly intrigued by this game, and I don't probably have any good reason to be. But
Okay. Well, before we talk about why you're weirdly intrigued in this game, we gotta handle some cheeses for the Packers win, 35-25 win against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football last week. Um, five candidates for cheeses this week, so let's get it kicked off. Jordan Love, 29 for 37, 360 passing yards, three touchdowns, a career high 134.2 passer rating, and the back-to-back NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Uh, Tucker Kraft, 7 catches on 9 targets, 143 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. Christian Watson, 4 catches on 4 targets and 85 receiving yards. Micah Parsons, 1 sack on 3 pressures and a QB hit and a tackle. Rashawn Gary, 4 tackles, 3 solo, 2 sacks, and 3 pressures on 2 QB hits and 2 tackles for a loss. Jordan, this might be a four banger for cheeses this week.
it is absolutely a 4 banger. I also I try to open the door for more, but I think the performances were so overwhelming that we can't like
Yeah,
Emmanuel Wilson. I want to give him an honorable mention just to have him be on the nominees list. But
yeah,
like, I think the five that we have as nominees are just pretty lockstep. That like
yeah.
Emmanuel Wilson. I'm sorry you didn't make the Google Doc here, but um, yeah, I think four is not just a certainty, but it's just a matter of who do you think is the four.
All not all that are not Christian Watson is my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah, that was I'm not like certain, but I'm pretty like that was my gut feeling for the sole purpose of Micah's stat sheet doesn't exemplify how much of a wreck he was in that game.
That is true. That was the one thing that was like, oh, three pressures, and then like not to go PFF on everybody's ass, but no, it was more of just or reverse PFF, I should say. So FFP, um, reverse.
I know. I wasn't expecting you to explain reverse BFF as FFP because like
Reverse. I don't know. Like it was just one of those things where like his imprint on the game was so. That's a classic. Like you need to watch the game.
right,
Don't look at the box score. I don't know who this guy is, but don't look at the box score.
right. No,
Yeah.
I get that. I pick up what you're putting down.
All right. Well, then we're that. Yeah. So Jordan Love locked in.
Yep. Tuck Crafts
Um.
locked in.
Yeah. Certainly.
I mean, are you fine with all but Christian Watson?
I'm certainly fine. I just
He had a good game for his first game back. It's just
he
like,
had a really good game, but again, this we had four legitimate superstar
yeah,
performances.
yeah. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So, with that quick anecdote, let's move on to news and notes from the week. Um, as is tradition, former Packers tight end Ben Sims got picked up by the Minnesota Vikings, the team that caught him at roster cutdowns last season before Green Bay picked him up on waivers. Um, just the classic pipeline of Green Bay to Minnesota, even if it's not free agency, which is that the classic pipeline. It just is always there. Um, coming off his, I believe, second or third cheese this this season, Micah Parsons has also earned the, we'll say it's illustrious honor of being named the NFC Defensive Player of the Month for October. So shout out Micah Parsons doing what he needs to do and showing up because he's pretty darn good and a
Pretty darn
big
good.
reason why this defense is as good as he is. Um, Other news and notes: there are signs of life, a heartbeat, if you will, from Jaden Reed, who is recovering from his foot and collarbone surgery. This is from Robin Vosky. Jaden Reed has taken a step toward a return to practice. He was running off the side at Nitschke Field while practice was going on. No video allowed of rehabbing players, so you have to take my word for it. So, always a good thing when those players are starting to return. So, hopefully he.
Should we include? I put this in the injury report department of our itinerary, but
Yep.
did we talk about Matt LaFleur's comments about a certain second year running back?
Yeah, go for it.
Matt LaFleur met with the Green Bay media, Packers media today. Um, let's just say, let's use Rob Domofsky's phrasing. He was talking about like injury report and talking about Brandon McManus. Brandon McManus kicked today, and gave some fresh updates about certain ailing players. Lucas Van Ness is not ready to practice, but is day to day. Don Tavion Wicks didn't practice Thursday. Marshawn Lloyd won't be practicing anytime soon. And that was that.
Yeah, to reference Zach Jacobson on Twitter, hashtag Marshawn Lloyd died weeks ago. I You really feel bad for him. Like it just is such a tough break for a guy they had, I'm assuming, pretty high hopes for. And so I don't know what his career looks like from here on out. Like if he can't play this season, because it's already week 8. I'm sorry, week 9. Like
Yeah, we're at
we're
we're past the
halfway.
halfway
We're
mark.
past the halfway mark. Well, no, this is the halfway mark. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I know. But like, not anytime soon isn't. great. Like, is that a month?
No.
And then he still has to they have to open his window, kind of thing. Like, it's just it's not good for Marshawn Lloyd, and so they're not suffering without him because they don't know anything other than life without him. But um, I think it does say something that they're also looking at the Packers looking on the trade market for possibly Devon Achane uh, to give a boost to their running back room and pass catching out of the backfield. So who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, it's we were kind of discussing this before the pod, but there was nothing about a return from IR. There wasn't the same level of updates that we had with Christian
Where's Christian
Watson.
Watson? Where it seemed like they were trickling in every couple of weeks
Yeah,
about getting closer, getting closer, getting closer. We haven't heard Marshawn Lloyd's name mentioned outside this press conference since the beginning of the season.
since LaFleur said that he's going to be out for a while.
Right. It's not good.
So,
And like,
no.
yeah, it stinks for the guy, right? So not great, not great, but at least the other guys are on their way back. Um, so yeah, let's get into the Packers Panthers game with some injury report news and all that good stuff. Um, Packers are 12-6 against the Panthers, postseason included, and they've won the last three matchups, including the infamous Jair Alexander game where he went out for the coin toss and almost flubbed it. So, at least we don't have that to look forward to.
Uh,
Jair Alexander, a healthy scratch for his game in Baltimore with Baltimore against the Dolphins tonight. So, not going so well that way.
no,
It's
no, not
just
at all.
it's just a tough. It's just kind of like the life of DBs in the NFL. If you're a good DB, your cliff comes fast, very very fast, and it did certainly for Jair Alexander. All right, let's go through this injury report. Weirdly enough, I think the Panthers have an equally as long injury report as the Packers do. So bear with me on all of these names. Starting with the Packers, Aaron Banks has a shin injury. He was limited both Wednesday and Thursday, as was Josh Jacobs with a calf injury. Brandon McManus was limited on Wednesday and upgraded to a full participant on Thursday as he heals from his quad injury. Uh, Jordan Morgan is sick. He was limited in practice on Thursday. Linebacker and special teamer Nick Niemann has a pec injury, and it was a DNP Wednesday and Thursday. I watched him get injured on one of the tackles. I think he got it was a case of friendly fire, and yeah, I immediately saw him get up and kind of stretch out his chest. I'm like, I don't think he's all good. I think he got hurt, and sure enough, he hurt his pec. So not a non-insignificant injury. Nick Niemann has made a lot of good plays on special teams. So Lord knows that unit can't really take many more blows. So let's hope that he
No.
gets better soon, or they find someone um, to replace his productivity there. Zach Tom with his oblique slash back injury is limited on both Wednesday and Thursday. As we mentioned, Lucas Van Ness was a DMP with a foot injury both Wednesday and Thursday. Quay Walker crops up on the Thursday injury report with a calf injury that he hurt in Wednesday's practice, which is not ideal. Uh, that'll be something to watch going into the weekend. Christian Watson, still recovering from his knee injury, was limited both Wednesday and Thursday. Dontayvion Wicks with his calf injury was a DMP Wednesday and Thursday. Um, Malik Willis has suffered an ankle injury on Wednesday in practice. He is limited on Thursday, and Devontae Wyatt was limited on Wednesday and Thursday with his knee injury. For the Carolina Panthers, edge rusher Derek Brown has a knee injury. He was a full participant both days. Offensive lineman Brady Christensen was placed on IR with an Achilles injury on Thursday. Weird that they didn't do that Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton has a thumb injury on his throwing hand. He was a DMP on Wednesday and limited on Thursday. Wide receiver Jimmy Horn Jr. was a full participant Wednesday and Thursday. Wide receiver Xavier Legette is sick. Was a DMP on Thursday. Guard Damian Lewis has an oblique injury. He was a full participant on Wednesday and downgraded to limited on Thursday. Center Cade Mays has an ankle and knee injury. He's a DMP both days. Uh, Tackle Taylor Motton has a knee injury. He was a DMP on Wednesday and a limited participant on Thursday. Safety Nick Scott, groin injury, DMP Wednesday, limited participant on Thursday. Princely, ooh man, oh man, I can't get through this one.
Mm.
Pri- Princely Umanimian, I'm sure I got that wrong. An ankle injury, DMP Wednesday and Thursday. Linebacker Trevin Wallace, shoulder injury, a DMP on Wednesday and limited on Thursday. And then quarterback Bryce Young was a full participant with his ankle injury on Wednesday and Thursday, as was guard Chandler Zavala. That's all I guess I'll say that, with a knee injury as he's returning from his IR window. So the big standouts there that we'll talk about, we can honestly talk about it right now as we get into this, is will Bryce Young play on Sunday or will Andy Dalton? Um, Obviously, Andy Dalton didn't play too well in his game against the Bills. 40-9, they lost. It was not very pretty whatsoever. But the Panthers have been good, or I should say like okay this season. They've been competitive in games. I don't think they're like anything I should like say like special, but they're definitely like not the beat up of the league that they were. They're 4-4. Like that's just fine, right? Their wins come against the Falcons, who they whooped
For
up,
their last five, they won.
right? Who they whipped up on the Falcons uh, against. Excuse me. Um, 30-0. They beat the Dolphins by 3, the Cowboys by 3, and the Jets by 7. And then obviously got trounced by the Bills, but that's obviously with Andy Dalton and not their starting quarterback Bryce Young. So, and even then, like their losses come against good teams. They lost to the Jaguars, the Cardinals, the Patriots, and the Bills. Like Cardinals pre Kyler injury, and so
Yeah.
just like their
A
second,
game that they were down big and they wormed themselves back into it late.
yeah,
Like you could argue if they were actually close to winning that game, but still.
yeah, they're second in the NFC South right now, and so like it's not they're gonna try and push for the playoffs. Like it's not
Jesus.
right. They are currently the 9 seed in the playoff picture, only a game behind the Niners. So um, worth monitoring them obviously throughout the rest of the season. But this team is young and feisty under Dave Canales, and I think whether or not Bryce Young plays and how long he's out kind of really is the motor for this team. He's been better. Like there's always going to be all the jokes about him being short and him being just an average to not so good quarterback his first and second year. But 11 TDs, only 5 picks so far this season with 1,200 yards, 61.6 completion percentage. I'm trying to see if it tells me how many rushing touchdowns he has, if he has any, but he has one so far this season. He had 6 last year, so um, helping out that way too. Like I think he's just been effective, limiting some mistakes. 5 interceptions in 7 games isn't ideal, but it's not terrible. He's had worse, right?
Yeah,
So
that I mean, we're talking about someone that was benched um
at the end of the year last year, right?
middle
Oh,
of the
middle of the
year
year.
last year,
Yeah,
and then he regained his starting job.
yeah,
I mean, it wasn't benched because of injury; it was because of play. Um, you mentioned Andy Dalton. I just want to read this stat. I was going to tell you this before the podcast. I had to save it for on here. Andy Dalton. This is per next gen stats. Andy Dalton has been sacked 8 times across 17 pressures faced this season, resulting in the highest pressure to sack rate, 47.1%, among
jeez,
quarterbacks with as many or more total dropbacks than him, which is 46. Um, yeah, that's pretty terrible. So going from quite possibly the worst quarterback performance of the season so far to a passable Bryce Young, like it's interesting because I was it the I don't know why. Oh, it would have been the lead into the Packers Bengals game, I believe. Cowboys Panthers were on Fox a couple weeks ago, so I
yep.
watched that game. Cowboys aren't the greatest judge because you can get anything you want on that defense.
That is true.
But I see like there's something with this team, and this isn't just to appease our friend Andrew Snyder, but like Bryce Young, I don't know if he'll ever be like a good starting quarterback. He's a starting quarterback for right now. Having someone like Ted McMillan certainly helps. Yeah, I mean, like
Hmm.
they have clearly found something with Rico Dowdle.
Yeah.
There's tenets of an offense that makes sense. Like Dave Canales a couple years ago was this hotshot offense coordinator that helped Baker Mayfield find his place in the league again.
Hmm.
That you know, there it's hard for these coordinators that get talked about for these buzzy jobs and then have to go into. He literally walked into probably the worst situation in recent NFL history of like
Yeah.
trade away their picks. Bryce Young has this awful rookie season. They have to build their talent base up, and he's kind of making things work when they still are starting to get their arsenal back after making such bold moves
Hmm.
and not paying out. Um, you didn't mention too, like Jalen Coker was someone that was kind of talked about a lot. He got hurt just on the cusp of the season starting.
Right.
I believe his first game was either last week or the week before.
Yep.
So there's talent there. This isn't like I don't think this is the Browns
No.
in terms of offensive talent. I think there are real reasons to think that if they hang around with the Packers, because the Packers took them lightly, even though that we probably might think that come
Yeah.
Sunday. But there's things that I legitimately am curious as to how the Packers take into account going into Sunday.
Yeah. You mentioned Ted McMillan as one of the receivers in Carolina, the rookie receiver out of Arizona, 6'5", 212, big body receiver. He has been, I don't want to say a revelation for Bryce Young, but like he is a wide receiver that can just go get the ball when you throw it up to him, and that's pretty much what they've done with Ted. Um, he's had, let's see, he's played in what, 7 games or more than that, 8 games. He's played in 8 games against Dallas and New York. He had 5 targets. The rest of the other 6 games, he's had at least 8. He has 3 games of 8 targets, 1 of 9 and 2 of 10. So Bryce Young is targeting Ted McMillan in their passing game, even if it's not been beneficial to big yardage.
Yeah.
He's only eclipsed 100 yards once. He had 99 yards with Andy Dalton last week, but his next highest after that is 73. So, um, but he's just a good receiver, and that wasn't something you could say that they had the last 2 years, right? Like
Yeah.
they just didn't have anybody for Bryce Young to throw to. Like Xavier Legette is fine. He's not a wide receiver one by any means, and he wasn't very good his first year anyways. And so they had
And they moved on from Adam Thielen.
and he
Like,
moved on from Adam Thielen this year. But
yep.
last year, or 2 years, he was like okay for him. I think he had 1,000 yards both years, but like he's not the kind of receiver that you want as your wide receiver one because he just can't go make a play. Like he's gonna get open, of course, but he's more of an underneath receiver that just kind of gets you a bit of yardage when you need it. But he's not Ted McMillan. he's not
No,
he's not DJ Moore.
there's
Like they just didn't have
yeah.
anybody for him to throw to. They didn't like have tight ends for him to throw to.
I think McMillan's really interesting that he's so like he's having a good rookie season. He's still finding kind of ironing out his faults. I think again going against or what I remember seeing of him against the Cowboys. The Cowboys secondary is in a rough shape. I think the Packers exceed that, considering what their circumstances too, which is kind of shocking.
Yeah.
But if you think of like the receivers that they've gone up against this year, I think DK Metcalf is like the only one that we think of like physically like that kind of is equivalent to Tet, but he's a bigger body. Like he is
Yeah.
more of like I don't know, like when you see him play, I kind of think of like this is a lofty comparison in terms of like physical profile.
You and I might have the same player in mind.
Let's say in three, two, one.
Julio Jones.
Oh,
Well, who was yours?
I was gonna say Mushin Muhammad. No, I was gonna say I was gonna say To.
I could see T.O.
Like To was like very long and tall. Like
Yeah.
people for, people forget he was a bucket. No, but it is, you kind of forget like how big of a receiver that you have to go up against with
Yeah.
him. And then you think of like the Packers corners, and you're just like, Carrington Valentine's like 6 foot on if he's wearing like lifts.
Yeah, the deep spikes.
Deep
Uh
spikes. Yeah.
Julio was 6'3", 220, and T.O. was 6'3", 224. So Tet 2 inches taller and a bit lighter, but same ish build. Like they play a very similar style football.
Yeah. I don't know. I think um I think Bryce just has something to work with that.
Oh, for sure.
And not to bring up that Panthers game from a couple years ago, that was their a terrible year. Like Bryce Young was being ridiculed beyond belief, and he got. I think that's probably his best game as a pro
Yeah,
against that Packers. Granted, it was under the Joey Berry. I don't know why I was gonna call him Joey
Joey
Berry.
Barry.
Joey Berry, two first names. But that was under the Berry regime. But he carved up the Packers defense, and we're just
Sure
like
did.
apoplectic of like, why
Yeah,
is this happening?
right, right. So no, I'm with you. Like it's just the Panthers are like one of those teams, and this isn't meant to be like degrading or demeaning or anything like that. I just want to see them succeed. Like they've been in the dumps for long enough now. Like I'd like to see them have a bit of success to actually like build off of. Like I root for Bryce Young from afar to be good because that process just is so maddening to go through. Like
Yeah.
like if Bryce Young is bad, then they have to do this all over again. But I think like he's playing himself into at least a smaller second deal, or at least getting obviously his 5th year option picked up with like for sure. Um, and so I'm just curious to see how it goes because if they can keep surrounding him with talent, I think they're like probably a receiver or a tight end, or probably a tight end away from having like a good solid offensive specialist room. Because like Jatavion Sanders, I believe is not mistaken. Yeah,
Tommy Tremble.
yeah, he's still kicking over there. Still kicking. He's still young, but like
Jeez.
Jatavion Sanders has 14 receptions for 111 yards this year in 9 games. I'm pretty sure, or
Yep.
8 games. I'm double checking. Oh no, he's only played 5. He missed a few between the end of September and the Jets game. But my point is like they don't have, and this is a lofty goal. They don't have a Tucker Craft. They don't have like a Trey McBride or anything like that. They don't really even have like trying to think like a middle like a Cole Kmet. They don't have someone like that. And so to have them just have one more pass catcher for Bryce Young, I think they're like that part away from being a decent offense. And so thankfully for the Packers, they don't have that this week. Like I don't think Jatavion Sanders is anything to turn your nose up at. Like he's definitely decent, but it'll be interesting to see how they handle Bryce Young because, like I said, he can't sling it, but he's got a good enough arm to pass it over the field, and Tet can just go up and get balls right. And I'm trying to quickly see what Bryce Young has for rushing yards on the season because I'm curious. He has 69 rushing yards on the season. His most of that came in week 1 against the Jaguars when he had 40 there. So not too much of a rushing threat this year, even though I think he was like slated to be a little bit of that coming out of college. Um, but that'll be the second order of business for the Packers. I think is trying to figure out that pass game. As we move on to our second point, this will be the first order of business for the Packers defense, and it's how do you stop the running game? Because Chuba Hubbard, pretty darn good at his job. Rico Dottle steps right in when Chuba Hubbard goes down and goes nuclear in back-to-back games. Um, I think in the two games that Chuba missed, I'm pretty sure he had over 200 all-purpose yards in both games. Yeah, he did. He had 206 rushing yards on 23 carries and 28 reception yards in a win against the Dolphins. And then against Dallas, he had 183 rushing yards on 30 carries and 56 yards in the passing game, scoring one touchdown in both games. Chuba Hubbard comes back, I believe, against the Jets, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, those numbers drop down 17 carries for 79 yards and 17 yards through the air. And then last week against Buffalo, 8 carries, 54 yards um, that way. But Chuba Hubbard has been pretty darn good this year as well. Like he has been, I'd say, a bell cow for them before he got hurt. Like I don't think we
Yeah.
weren't really seeing much of Rico Dowdle prior to that. And even we go back to um, the games he started. He had 57, 38, 73, 49 yards before he ends up getting hurt, and had two catching touchdowns, receiving touchdowns in the first 2 weeks. So like he was definitely just like kind of chunking away at yards, but he's definitely a decent back. Like they gave him a big extension, and they're gonna ride with him, but it's now become, I don't want to say the Patrick Ewing theory with Chuba Hubbard, but like it's hard to turn away from a guy that had back to back 200 all-purpose yards in 2 wins, right? Like it's hard to,
He's got 6.1 yards per touch from scrimmage.
yeah, which like obviously a lot of that is inflated from the 2 games
It's still
that he did.
crazy.
It is. It's still crazy. But like you have to mix in both of these running backs now, and the last 2 weeks they weren't as good as the sum of their parts. So that'll be something for the front for the Packers to really key in on. Like you can't let either of these guys get going, and you for sure can't let both of them get going, so that they can just run up the gut and beat you that way and take the ball out of Bryce Young's hands. Even though I don't think that's like the key to winning.
No, but I think it's really interesting. We've seen the run defense, even with it being ranked so high, like we've seen it kind of skate on by. Like we talked about it after the Steelers game, where it felt in the moment that it was very impactful, that they were getting what they wanted, and it was still like probably like 98 team rushing yards, which is not like overwhelming, but for what the Packers have set so far, it's like an outlier. I think the thing is, if the run game is going well for the Panthers, it just opens the door for them to dictate time of possession, keep the ball out of the Packers' hands, and that's where things get a little dicey. Of like, how do you adjust? Do you have the horses to stop them? That kind of thing. Like, I'm trying to think of what's been honestly. I think the biggest backfield that they've gone up against, it was the Lions. Certainly, the
Oh, for
Lions game
sure.
in Week 1,
Yeah.
and they, took them out. But they really haven't gotten played up against a backfield that might be as. Javonte Williams is having a really good season, but I don't think that was coming into fruition by that point when the Packers played him.
It kind of was as a Javante Williams fantasy owner. I was definitely a fan of him by
Yeah,
that point. But to your point, like no, they absolutely have not faced a running back room as good as this one right now.
yeah,
Like you're looking at obviously Jameer Gibbs and Dave Montgomery week 1, Bill Krosky Merritt, Austin Eckler, and Chris McNichols week 2, Quinton Judkins week 3, Javante Williams week 4, Chase Brown week 6, not Bucky, but Bam Knight for the Cardinals and
yeah,
2 weeks ago, and then Jalen Warren, and that's pretty much it. And
yeah. Pretty much it. Yeah,
against like last week, like they haven't really faced premier running backs, and I wouldn't call Chuba Hubbard premier, but he's pretty darn close to premier. He's in that like third tier of running back in my opinion. Um, Enrico Dowdle is exploding right now, like or has the last month, and so it'll be a good test for them because like they're about to. I mean, I guess looking at their schedule, they don't really have a lot more running backs to face that really give them problems.
It would be the
It's
Lions and
well, no, and they face the Eagles in 2 weeks, and like that's Saquon, and he's had an okay year, but he hasn't. But it's still Saquon. Like
yeah, yeah.
I'm not like disregarding Saquon Barkley. But then like the Vikings that still have Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason who are having mediocre seasons, and then DeAndre Swift and company and Kyle Managai in Chicago. What?
I think it's Manunga.
Manungai, yes, thank you.
But I
I said Managai. I just think get the middle part right. Um, RJ Harvey and
mm,
J.K. Dobbins in Denver towards the end of the season, and then Derrick Henry with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, obviously. But like this 2 week stretch might be the best running backs they face all season, besides their conference game against the Lions or their division game against the Lions. And so I'd like to see them really hold this running game this week at least to some minimal yards, right? Like let's keep the narrative going of do they try and trade one of these running backs in the next 4 days after week 8 because they're better. Maybe they can get something for Chuba or Rico, and they're better just running one single back. Then that runs into the issue that like I think they really like both of them. They just extended Chuba and then they signed Rico this offseason. And then if you trade Rico, then Chuba just got hurt, then you're kind of SOL. So like obviously they
yeah.
don't trade them. Like that's probably a non-starter for them. But at least let's make them have the conversation in Carolina of like who are we going to rely on as our lead back because the whole committee thing isn't going to work. You know what I mean? Like I just want them to stymie this this Carolina rushing offense.
Carolina.
What's that James Taylor song?
um,
That's gonna bother me. I'm looking it up as we
what is it?
James Taylor. It's a Carolina in my mind. Yep.
Ah, that's what it
Yep.
is. I didn't have it on my mind.
No,
That's
you
the
didn't.
joke that
No,
was
you didn't.
joke I was trying to make.
So, do you have any thoughts on the rushing offense of the uh, Carolina Panthers? Any more thoughts, I should say.
No, I think it's a two-headed attack that gives options that it could be a hot hand type of game from Canales and Company. Canales and Company. I don't know why I keep wanting to sing. I didn't know it was
Because I was
karaoke
serenading
hour.
you with Thriller for 35 minutes.
It was the first time I ever heard that song, by
Th-
the way.
okay. Yep, I know. I know. I know. That's a hand up. That was a gullible moment. But
You reach, I teach. Dear Lord, it's a joke. It's a basketball reference.
speaking of basketball, go Bucks! They beat the Warriors.
Insane. Ryan Reynolds had 32 points.
That is crazy.
Um, what was I saying? Oh, two-headed rushing attack.
You're
I think
talking
you.
about reaching.
I'm talking about Rico, Dowdle, um,
Who got hit with the Rico case?
Adam Silver.
uh,
No, I think it makes for a compelling theater if this Panthers team uh, can get what they want on this Packers run D. I don't know. I'm kind of scared of it. There's just something. I don't think this is gonna be an easy game.
no, I don't think it'll be an easy game, but I don't think it'll be mega hard either. Like I think it'll be similar to the Pittsburgh game. I think where it's kind of close to begin with. Maybe we feel not so good about it at halftime, and then eventually from the second half they
We
kind of just.
certainly did not feel good about it at halftime.
That's what I'm saying. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and then but in the second half they kind of pull away and put it away in the fourth quarter kind of thing.
We should. I mean, we're focusing a lot on the offense. We are talking about a Panthers defense. Um, that was an abject disaster last year that is more
Yeah.
respectable.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's because they shut out the Falcons and they limited the Jets to 6 points, who were previously winless. Like they've this is where, but then they give up 40 to the Bills,
Yeah.
who that was a team not firing on all cylinders, having a couple of bad losses in their mouth, and then kind of
Gets right.
pummeled.
Gets right against the
Yeah,
Panthers.
that I don't know. It's yeah, that defense. That is where, like, as much as I'm afraid of what the Panthers offense could pose a problem to the Packers
Yeah.
defensively, like offensively, like this might be another like monster Tucker Craft game.
It very well could
It
be.
should be. It really should be.
Yeah, it definitely should be because he's very good. Um, Not a whole lot of sacks for this team. Derek Brown in the middle is still a very good player. He's their highest rated defensive player, according to PFF. But he has 4 sacks through 8 games and 14 total pressures, including 17 tackles as well. Like he's a darn good player in the middle, and I think that's going to be something to focus on is how do the middle linemen handle Derek Brown and Ashawn Robinson, who have 7 of their 16 total sacks on the season. I mean, even Nick Scourton, he has 3 sacks as well as an edge rusher. And so, how do you handle this front for um, against the Panthers? Because like I think that's like where the teeth of their defense is. Um, they have 6 interceptions on the season, including J.C. Horn with 3 of them
Just
as
bringing this up.
yeah. And so like if you can negotiate that defensive front and kind of pick your spots against these the secondary essentially, maybe stay away from J.C. Horn and just maybe don't throw at him, then
Yeah.
I think you can find a lot of success there.
No, I agree. I mean, I feel like the Packers might have their way with this defense in terms of just like finding soft spots, taking advantage of talent levels. I mean, side note, we talked or sir, I don't know, was the Packers interviewed Evero?
Yeah, Eli Iharo Ever I think is his name.
Yeah. Um I think they're certainly familiar with what he wants to do defensively.
Yeah,
So much so that they wanted to incorporate that into their own team before the Panthers blocked that. Um, so that's not nothing.
no, it's not. It's not nothing at all.
um, but yeah, it's just a matter of making winning plays. I think your point about J.C. Horn, he's a really good cornerback on a defense that isn't is subpar compared to him. I think if you can avoid him, and if you can, is this Tucker Craft just eats through the middle of the field? Is this Christian Watson running routes that breaks open the field where Kraft, Dobbs, um, Matthew Golden,
Mm-hmm.
whoever can kind of feast on the space that the Packers can generate in the soft spots in the Panthers defensive makeup. Like I don't know. I again very bullish about what they did. Obviously after last week and where Jordan Love is at in this season, that it could be a nice game where like periphery guys, not to label Matthew Golden as a periphery, but he's still getting up to speed. This could be a game where he gets some good looks and kind of starts to hit the ground running. Or Emmanuel Wilson might follow up what he did last week in Pittsburgh and
Yeah,
kind of tear open through this defense. So I don't know. I'm bullish on what this offense is looking like after last week.
this is the fastest way I was able to find this stat, but the Panthers it's fantasy points, so you'll have to give me some grace.
No,
Like
that I this is helpful though.
I was trying to find tight ends production versus the Panthers. They are 6th in the league or 7th. One, two, three. Yeah, 7th. They are just behind or ahead of rather the Packers. Um, they allow about 66 yards per average, or on average per game, including 5.5 catches, um, and just under half a touchdown per game. Or rather, it is a half touchdown per game. And so, yeah, Tucker Craft, buddy, kind of feast on this defense and see what you can do if you can really pick up this pick up where you left off, kind of thing. Like I'd be very happy.
As would I.
As would I. As would I. I'm trying to find. I guess it doesn't matter. Let's try and find like their most recent games, just to try and find tight end production, but it doesn't matter so much. So regardless, um, let's move on to the Packers. No, not move on to the Packers defense. One more thing on the Packers defense. Before we talk a little bit about the offense, even though we just did. I'm all backwards right now. um, Nate Hobbs getting his lunch ate by Carrington Valentine as of late, kind of flip flopping this season. I'm kind of curious as to how long this yo-yo effect is going to happen for the Packers cornerback two spot. Do you know what I mean? Like if Carrington Valentine has a bad game, do they immediately go back to Nate Hobbs and he gets the run for the next 3 games while Carrington Valentine doesn't get it? Do you know what I mean? Like it started with Nate Hobbs, or it started with Carrington Valentine getting most of the snaps, dwindle, 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 and then as that happened, Nate Hobbs was on the rise, and now that has gone back the other way. So I'm curious as to how that'll shape up. If I'm not mistaken, Keyshawn was on DK a lot last week, and Carrington Valentine was more on, I think, just the other receivers on the field. I do wonder if they throw Carrington Valentine on Tet this week, just because he's got the extra inch or two.
Well, I mean, Carrington, his signature play last week was on DK, but I think by and large you're
Yeah.
correct. Of like
No,
his assignment was more Robin Wilson
yep.
or forget the other wide receiver,
Calvin Austin.
Calvin Austin. Yes. Um, yeah, the Hobbs thing is really interesting. I mean, I don't know, like he's not been good, but I also feel for him in that he's coming back from off like surgery that he had during training camp and preseason. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if the Packers have handled it in the way that set him up for success. On top of
I'd agree with that.
the on the outside cornerback situations, that we knew that this is kind of a weird thing that they have to figure it out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't know. He, neither here nor there, but I think it's also illustrative of talking about him in terms of like, look at this guy not playing up to his what they signed him for. This like, I don't think it was the intention by any means, but I think Matt Schneeman had a very good way of looking at like the urgency that
Schneid.
Schneidman. God, shut up! Why?
Because we said it wrong for 3 years.
I need the knee. I had the need for Schneed. That's what I mean.
Okay, go on.
Sorry, that we're gonna change the name of this podcast called the need for Schneed.
Yep. You're talking about a Matt Schneidman tweet.
Oh, he talked about the urgency. I think it was the piece that he wrote about the Nate Hobbs situation, how the Packers are addressing it. He talked about the urgency that Brian Gutekunst has kind of instilled in this roster, going from his comments at the end of last year and losing the Eagles.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, previously I think the Packers would kind of give more chances, but I think ultimately this is not just it's not about player performance, it's about player health, and it's like you're asking a lot for a guy that you know
Didn't have camp for the most
didn't
part.
have camp. It's so hard to get back into
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand. I get it. He says from his basement chair about getting ready for camp with not having a camp.
I get it. I get it.
Not
I
air of
get
the
it.
season.
I'm
Yeah, I understand. I get it. Yeah, totally.
I go to Camp Minikani all the time.
Go to Camp Unalaya as a kid.
Mm.
Shout out Camp Unalaya. Um,
You're a liar.
you're a liar. Um,
Camp, you're a liar.
that's
Is
right.
that what it's called? So
Yes. Yes. Um, it's just interesting, and like the Packers understand that this is a problem too. There have been rumored to talk to like four different teams looking for a corner, like the Bengals, the Saints. Um, I'm trying to think of who else was in there. They've been calling around.
they were linked. I don't know if this is an Intel situation, but I remember last week ESPN, Jeremy Fowler, and kind of the NFL like insiders posted like, players on the move. Roger McCrary, who eventually got traded to the Rams this week
Yep.
and started the secondary
Titans, right?
market. Yeah, from the Titans.
Yeah.
He was kind of linked to the Packers as like, oh, this is a team that needs cornerback help. This is a guy that would be traded.
Yep.
I don't think it was necessarily, again, connecting dots that might not have been connected to begin with. But yeah, I don't know. Calls are being made. It's just a matter of like, well, let's be honest of what the Packers are willing to give up because they don't have their first round picks the next two drafts.
Yeah.
So
No,
what?
I think like that's the whole thing is what are they comfortable giving up?
Yeah,
And that's the Devon Achan question. That's the Cam Taylor Britt question. It's all these questions about guys that are worthy of getting traded for, or worthy that are worthy of trading for. How much do the Packers value their picks?
yeah,
Because we know it's a lot, but I think Goody recognizes that the Achilles heel of this team is its secondary. And if you're a team with Super Bowl aspirations, with one loss coming into Week 9, and you're on the roll towards the second half of the season where you need to really perform to make sure you take hold of that number one seed or at least win your division, they need to shore up their team. So is current gains worth future future gains?
losses.
Well, future losses, right? Is the saying, but like it's the mystery boat thing from Family Guy, or the mystery box versus the boat thing from Family Guy. You could
Yeah,
have the boat, or you could have the mystery prize. Could be a boat, or it could be like the $25 gift certificate they got to some restaurant or whatever the bid is.
yeah.
And I'm not sure Cam Taylor Britt or any corner they're looking to trade for is a boat to really hammer home this analogy as I go on forth with it. But like I also think they're very I don't want to say hesitant, but they've been adverse to drafting corners the last 2 years since Eric Stokes.
Since Eric Stokes, since rewarding Jair Alexander, and both those decisions, for a
Loom
variety of
large.
reasons, blew up in their face.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that like, not to pour cold water on this whole thing because I think ultimately everybody that is watching the Packers want them to upgrade at the corner position. It is a very fickle position.
It's fickle. It's hard to learn like your own. It's hard to learn the playbook on your own team versus changing it halfway through. Like the best guys can do it, but you're not trading for the best guys kind of thing.
No,
And
the best guys aren't available.
right, and even then like I can't remember the last time a mid-season trade like really helped the team. Do you know what I mean? Like the NFL is very different from the NBA and MLB where big trades pay off right away for teams and are like visually this is a good thing, right? Especially mid-season. And so I'll
Von Miller maybe was that mid-season of the Super Bowl year for the Rams.
think so. I don't remember,
That was a weird situation though too.
but like it's to that point like Von Miller's a Hall of Famer.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like with corner specifically, I think everybody, because it's been suspect in that like before last week, we could have said like, well, at least they have Keyshawn Nixon and a performance that again easily the worst of him as like in a large role,
Mm-hmm.
and you're expecting him to be good. Like he had a lot of just, it was just terrible plays, like
Yeah,
very out of character in a lot of ways, I would say.
yeah,
But if you're asking for the Packers to trade for a corner, we're probably asking them for to get a number one, and it's like well, those things don't like that. Again, they're not available. They're like that's really
Yeah.
hard to just be like, okay, you're trading for this. Here you go. Like when the Packers signed Nate Hobbs, I don't think anybody thought he was going to be their number one corner,
No, and that's the
and
problem
you
with the,
felt
with
good
the
about it.
that's the problem with the deal in the first place, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
said so, but like the guys that they're looking to trade for, like DJ Turner and Cam Taylor Britt, those guys are number one guys on that team. Like they're two talented corners. But the difference is that it's like the Bengals defense. Like they're not high flyers, right? Like they're fine. I
A
wouldn't
roster that is super top heavy with salaries, and they've threaded the needle with trying to find like,
right. Like
yeah,
he's young. He has like Cam or DJ Turner has two picks on the season, and I think what is like is just fine from what I
including
remember.
when against Jordan Love.
Yep. But like if I'm not mistaken, like is just fine. Cam Taylor Britt, um, also a young guy. Cam Taylor Britt was drafted in 22. DJ Turner the second was drafted in 23. And so like if I'm trying to get one, I'm probably trying to get DJ Turner. But that's just like my surface level analysis here. I haven't done super much digging on those guys. But like, do the Bengals want to trade them? They're on rookie deals, and their defense
I'm
isn't
guessing
good.
Turner's gonna be a free agent.
Who?
Guessing Turner's gonna be a free agent.
I don't think so. He's
Is he a
draft.
22 draft pick?
No, he's 23.
Oh,
Cam Taylor Britt is 22.
oh, that's right. Yes, sorry.
So he might be Cam Taylor Britt might be a free agent next year. I don't know what his contract status is, but
I'm guessing he's a free agent
I'm guessing too. But
because they don't have money.
no, and Paul Brown is like my pearls.
Mike Brown,
Mike Brown, not Paul Brown.
90-year-old Mike Brown, son of Paul.
Hilariously enough, they were drafted with the same exact pick, just 2 years apart or a year apart. Round two, pick 60 for both guys. Um, but like that's the thing. Is like sure, go trade for him. I'm all for it, but I'm not sure those are like the guy that it's not. He's not the difference maker. Maybe he's the difference maker. Maybe he's a little bit more motivated playing on a good defense kind of thing. We saw like Micah Parsons said it when he got here. I get secondary guys paid. That hasn't quite worked out the way we thought it would, but it's it's definitely we'll say helpful when you have a
Yep.
guy like Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary doing good things um, in the quarterback's backfield, trying to cover guys. But who knows? That's our little trade primer, I guess, is how we'll frame that because we won't have much to talk. Like we won't be talking about it after the game on Sunday, and it'll be the trade deadline will have come and gone by the time we record on Wednesday next week. But I'm very curious as to if they do make a trade because I think last week was a good example. Like they kind of just let a bunch of receivers go off on them last week. If I'm not mistaken, like nobody really had a terrible game last week for
Yeah.
the Steelers receiving core. They had if I can pull up the stuff quick. Roman Wilson had 4 catches for 74 yards. DK Metcalf had 4 for 5 for 55, and like they had that was pretty much it. But they had 219 passing yards. The week before that was the Cardinals game where Marvin Harrison had his way and such, and Trey McBride had his way. And so I think they just need another body, and I don't know what that looks like, especially for the stretch run because it's a passing league. You got to have guys who can defend the pass, and I think they're I think they're one short of guys who can play
Oh yeah.
because like you have three, and they're three average guys. If you have four guys, and we'll say they're all average, fine, but I feel a little better going forward with like again DJ Turner, Keyshawn, Nate Hobbs, and Carrington Valentine versus asking Bull Melton to be that guy as the fourth guy. It's Javon Bullard is the other is the fourth guy, but like I'd rather him be used other ways. I guess I don't know. It's hard because they both play nickel, Bullard and Hobbs do, and
Well,
and Bullard's been playing on the field more.
it's more of the like they have their system, and it like we for as much as we gripe about it, like it's worked out, but when it comes, it's do or die when it comes to the playoffs. A
Yeah,
team like the Eagles has been super frustrating. Like their offense until against the Vikings. How many weeks has it been about like getting the ball to AJ Brown, getting the
it's
ball to
been
Devontae Smith?
it's been 8 weeks straight.
Yeah, but they still have that capability of like they turn it on even if it is against a lackluster Vikings team.
And even then, too, like the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks for I'm sorry, I think it's been like the last month for them. Jalen Hurts has been feeding Dallas Goddard, and so
Yes.
if you're selling out resources to cover Dallas Goddard, a really good tight end, then you're letting AJ Brown be open, and he can kill you. And it's
Yep.
so like it all takes us one game. That's all it
Yep.
takes. And so
Even the Lions, like you know, things are working out well for the Packers in that they have home field currently. But you know, I needless to say, like the talent level can still override a season's worth of like underwhelming performance or not playing to expectations,
right,
where it could just turn over whenever.
yeah, and like that's the thing is that it can't always come back to bite you, which is like obvious of anything. But it can, especially in the playoffs, especially when you're a team that's playing with a lead, like the Packers have often done this season. Teams are going to need to pass against you to get back in it, and that
Yep.
isn't their strong suit. Like their secondary isn't their strong suit, and so you're running the risk of allowing teams to target your weakest point on the team to get back into a game for a playoff push. So,
Yeah.
alrighty, let's do players to watch. Players to watch. Um, I'll go first. I-
Hmm.
will I'll go first as I try to figure out uh, who I want to pick here. But I think I am going to go with the guy I talked about earlier and go with Derek Brown for the Panthers. Um, Probably the first or second. I'd probably say second behind J.C. Horn, best player on defense for them. Um, and just a force up the middle. We kind of talked about it with the fella from the Tennessee last year, whose name I forget. Um, that just was a force inside.
Simmons.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
And so same thing. Like Josh Jacobs would like to see him have another good game and with some more yards, maybe versus just touchdowns, like just to be productive that way. But EJ, Aaron Banks, Jordan Morgan kind of have their work cut out for him with that interior D line this week. So yeah, I'm gonna go him.
That's a good point, and I think I said previously that Panthers have a subpar defense, not named J.C. Horn. I regrettably was forgetting about Derek Brown.
That's right.
Um, Panthers to watch. I'm gonna go Ted McMillan. I think
Fun
I'm
pick.
intrigued by him. We talked about him come draft cycle and kind of the persistent rumors and Brian Goody Kuntz, his appearance at his like pro day of like, could they? Will they? Move up for him. Um, Again, I think he's just a big body that Packers might have trouble,
Yeah.
covering.
Yeah.
Um, Especially if it's like jump balls or like 50-50 contested catches, whatever. Like that's his bread and butter. And from that Dallas game, not to just keep talking about the same game forever, but it is recent on my mind. Like he had a route run that was just like it was like 15 yards out, so they're in the red zone. It was similar to like Romeo Dobbs, but like if you just stretch it out in 10 more yards, where like Dobbs is such a good master of like instant like juke fake out moves that you know inside leverage, boom, touchdown. That he just got for a touchdown. That was like this. You see the early makings of a guy that's going to be a really good wide receiver. Um, yeah, I'm just very curious about how they try to stop him.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Who's your Packer?
I'm gonna go Josh Jacobs. I think this is informed by injury. Calf has been a limiting factor. So part of durability, part of workload. I just think if we see less of him, does that mean we could see like a not a breakout Emmanuel Wilson game, but like this is you're assured like he might be as useful to the Packers down the stretch run and going in the playoffs as Josh Jacobs. I don't know. I think things should be easy, but who knows how much push the offensive line will get with Derek Brown
Yeah,
at the anchor, and can life just be made easier for Josh Jacobs?
hopefully so. Hopefully so. Uh, my player to watch the Packers is going to be Carrington Valentine for everything we just said. Like I think depending on how he plays this week is going to color a lot of what the Packers do coming up to the deadline. And I'll be
Mm.
curious to see if he does go against Tech McMillan, like if that's kind of who he's assigned to, or if it'll be Keyshawn. I'm assuming it'll be Keyshawn, but I'll be curious to see if Carrington Valentine does get any reps on him. Um, but yeah, it's just gonna be an interesting week for the secondary and how they handle themselves and what happens on Tuesday. So, all right, Jordan, score predictions. What is your prediction, my friend?
The Packers have burst. They've broken the 27 curse.
Thank,
That's why I said burst.
love that.
I'm gonna go. I think this is a close one. I'm gonna go Packers 26, Panthers 23.
Wow, that is close.
Yeah.
Is it a walk-off kick?
And it's Lucas Haversack. I referenced. I'm joking. Not really. I referenced Brad Hoover earlier in the pod. I'm closing the loop.
The human
Brad
the human
Hoover had his
vacuum.
the human vacuum. Brad Hoover, a career fullback, had his best running game against the Packers on Monday Night Football on November 27th, 2000. 117 rushing yards, a touchdown, 3 catches, 41 yards, and the bane of my existence. That number, November 27th night.
Is that Thanksgiving?
No, because it's a Monday.
Oh, it was Monday. I missed that part. Um, I'm going to go. Essel, I realized that I'm pretty sure I predicted the Packers to win every game this season.
I'm not surprised.
um, I am going to stick with that tradition or that trend, I should say. I am going to go Packers. I think it's close, but I don't think it's that close. Packers 30, Panthers 21.
Hmm.
I don't think they cover because I think they're like 13-point favorites.
Yeah, it's kind of
Which I
ridiculous.
think is, yeah, if this is not gambling advice, but I would be hitting that Panthers plus the points pretty hard.
You keep pounding.
I would keep pounding. All right, folks, that does it for this episode talk of the Tundra. Go check out Eurostep
Uh,
with Ty and Rohan for all things Bucks, as I'm sure they'll have a awesome pod to talk about that win over the Warriors without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Check out all things GSPN at gspn.info. We'll be back in your podcast feeds Monday morning for the recap of this matchup. Thank you guys for listening, and Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.